The story begins as Yuruma-shun, a 12-year-old boy, heads home from school. He's thinking how there are two types of people in the world. Good folks like his parents and jerks like the 5 bullies in his school who make his life a living hell. Yuruma-shun is just minding his business and thinking about this stuff when those 5 bullies come out of nowhere and start messing with him. They start beating him up for some sick experiment. Yuruma thinks it's over when they stop, but this one bully, Shigoku Kyowu, who's the same age as Yuruma-shun, suddenly starts choking him. Kyowu is choking Yuruma so hard that he can't even breathe. He starts talking about a technique to kill someone by choking them in a specific spot. Yuruma is scared while the bullies, Kuga Deichai and Ashiro Yuuga, cheer Kyowu. Yuruma is so scared that he pisses himself, and Kyowu finally stops choking him. Afterward, the bullies leave, and Yuruma is left alone, thinking why this keeps happening to him when he has done nothing wrong. Yuruma's bullies call him the test subject as they perform their sinful experiments on him. He is in 5th grade, and these 5 bullies have been giving him a hard time, calling him their lab rat and other bad names. Yuruma feels confused and sad on the way home, thinking about what just happened. But then he notices a cute cat outside his home, which cheers him a bit. He enters his home, and his parents are shocked by how messed up he looks and ask him what happened. But he lies and says he was playing in the river. He's excited to see his younger brother Kakeru, who is only 6 years old. Yuruma wishes to gift him the kitten as he knows that his brother loves them very much, but their parents don't allow them to have kittens. Yuruma tells him that this will be their secret, but Kakeru is worried about the mark on Yuruma's neck. He asks Yuruma about it, so Yuruma makes up another lie and says this is from wrestling at school. Yuruma is a kind brother who will do anything to bring a smile to his brother's face. While Yuruma goes out to buy some groceries, the 5 bullies steal his cat. As he returns, he wonders where his kitten is, and just then, these 5 jerks show up and tell him that they left his kitten on a mountain, and if he doesn't find it quickly, some wild animal might eat it. Yuruma gets scared but can't leave his cat, so he must go and find the cat. As Yuruma disappears, one of the bullies, Hiro, asks Kyowu the reason behind bullying Yuruma. Kyowu inquires whether he dislikes what he is doing. Hiro clarifies that this is not what he meant. Instead, he just wanted to know the reason why he bullied him. Kyowu answers this question by making a counter question of what the most amazing thing one could do is. Everyone in the group gives different answers, such as going into space or becoming super rich. But Kyowu finds all these answers boring and says that the most amazing thing one can do is simply murder someone, and not an ordinary murder which most people do because of love or hatred, but one which is due to no reason. He wants to kill Yuruma for no reason at all. He considers this bullying an experiment to see whether this would be risky or not. Kyowu doesn't want to kill his test subject directly. Instead, he wants to see how far Yuruma can endure this bullying before he kills himself. Yuruma is bawling his eyes out as he just found the cat dead. He wonders how someone could do such an evil act. He is very sad and wishes his family was there to support him as he is now lost in this forest and filled with so much pain. Just then, Gramps shows up with a gun. Yuruma is scared, and his grandfather clarifies that this is a hunting gun as he is looking to hunt some boars. Gramps inquires Yuruma if he is lost and tells him that if this is the case, he will take him to his home back as it is not safe here in the woods. Gramps takes Yuruma back to his home, where his mother is waiting anxiously for him. As they reach home, Yuruma's mother starts yelling at Yuruma for going to see Gramps. Both Kakeru and Yuruma aren't allowed to meet Gramps. Whenever they ask their parents why they can't meet their Gramps, they wouldn't receive any clear answer and only be told they would be scared of him. Yuruma slams the door to his room, plops down on his bed and starts thinking about the torture, humiliation, and bullying he is facing. Just then, Kakeru opens the doors and hugs Yuruma, telling him that he has always been trying hard to be strong in front of him. Yuruma gets emotional and cries his heart out, letting out all the pain and suffering he has been trying to keep inside. Because of the support and comfort he just got from his younger brother, Yuruma decides to tell his parents about the bullying he is facing at school. His parents comfort him and transfer him to another school where their son is not afraid of anyone. Yuruma didn't speak of the names of those 5 bullies, as he didn't want to receive a half-hearted apology. We see Yuruma happy after a month when his mother and Kakeru drive to pick up their dad. Yuruma, who is going to the grocery shop, says goodbye to his brother and mother. On his way toward the grocery shop, Yuruma comes across 3 of the bullies in his way. They ask him why he hasn't been to school for some time. The bullies then receive a call from Kyowu, and they give the phone to Yuruma. Kyowu tells Yuruma that because he left the experiment halfway through, he will be punished for his sins and his parents will be killed. Meanwhile, Kyowu and Hiro are standing on a ridge, looking at the road under it. Hiro notices Yuruma's parents' car and asks Kyowu what he will do, so Kyowu pushes him, and he falls in front of the car, which makes the car lose its balance and suffer a bad accident. Instead of getting angry at Kyowu, Hiro gets up and helps him kill Yuruma's parents. In the back seat, Kakeru is still conscious while his parents lay unconscious. Kyowu comes to check the car and notices Kakeru is still alive, so he starts whacking him with a stone to finish the job. They then burn the car. In the hospital, doctors tell Yuruma that they saved his younger brother, but he has serious injuries and is now in a coma. They also fear that he might never wake up. Yuruma, looking at his brother wrapped up in bandages, thinks he doesn't have any point in staying alive anymore. His uncle shows up with his son and tells Yuruma that he can live with them. But their place is a bit far. Yuruma decides to stay with his Gramps instead. He goes to his Gramps' house and thanks him for letting him stay in his home. To which Gramps tells him that it's good to have someone around as he gets lonely staying in his house anyway. One day Gramps and Yuruma are heading toward the warehouse where Gramps wants to put his gun. Yuruma volunteers to do it, so Gramps gives him the key, and Yuruma opens the door. Gramps gives the gun to Yuruma to put it at a specific spot. When he is about to put the gun, he notices a group picture of the Kitayama Corps on the wall, and a sword beside it. Yuruma still holds the gun when Gramps comes and notices something is wrong. He asks Yuruma, and Yuruma, driven by his revengeful emotions, is fired up and intends to kill those jerks responsible for his parents' murders. He says he won't let anyone take this revenge away. Gramps now realizes from Yuruma's speech that his parents didn't die in a normal accident. However, he tells Yuruma not to kill them so easily. Instead, he should think about the consequences. He says that the current Yuruma is too soft, and he will have too much guilt afterward. Besides, if he goes out with a gun, he will be caught by the police before even completing his mission. He suggests using a knife or something. Gramps snatches the sword away from Yuruma, telling him that his sudden decision to take revenge on those 5 murderers will give him no satisfaction as there is no thrill in it. He tells Yuruma about Kitayama Corps, that they were a Japanese Secret Service unit established during the Second World War. He was also a part of that group, so the ways and techniques of killing people were thoroughly drilled into him. The old psychopath now wants to train Yuruma, making him strong and skilled enough to give his bullies the suffering they deserve. Yuruma looks into his Gramps' eyes and is convinced he is not lying. 4 years later, we see Yuruma and Gramps standing beside Kakeru's bed. Yuruma is no longer that scared, weak kid. He is now a big, bad, intimidating dude, dead set on getting his revenge. He tells Gramps that he is ready now. Yuruma now attends Mizuki High School. Azuma Chizuru also attends the same class as Yuruma and likes that this school respects students' personal space. One day Azuma is very happy in her school, but her good mood is ruined by her friend Mon, who smacks her head as she enters the class. Azuma disgustedly pretends to be thankful to Mon for ruining her mood, to which Mon inquires if she has a boyfriend who was the reason behind her good mood, and Azuma denies it. Other friends of the group also show up, and they are confused. Mon tells them Azuma is on a hunt for a man, and the girls start teasing her. Class is about to start, so the girls leave, saying they will discuss it more in the next break. Abhorred by the timid attitude of girls, Azuma tries to stop them, but all in vain. The class starts, and Azuma's still thinking about dating a man. Azuma is the type of girl who never really thought about having a boyfriend before because she was always busy with club stuff in middle school. She feels hopeless about her love life since she has never confessed her feelings to anyone. As she thinks about all this, the teacher calls Yuruma to the board to solve a maths problem. Yuruma is handsome but not the brightest, as he is not great at studying. Reluctantly, he tells the teacher that he doesn't know the answer, and everyone in class bursts into laughter. Azuma feels bad for him as the teacher commands him to go back to his seat. During the break, Azuma and her friends again discuss her love life. They ask Azuma if she is interested in anyone, to which Azuma annoyingly clarifies that there is no one. Just as she makes it clear that she is not interested in anyone, she looks at Yuruma and says, "Maybe Yuruma." Other girls can't believe what Azuma said and start teasing her again. Azuma tells them it is not love or anything like that. She just finds him a bit interesting. As the girls are busy talking, someone pushes Yuruma down and jokes that he did it unintentionally. This is the same bully from Yuruma's elementary school, Kuga Daichai, along with his friend Senkuji Katsumi, a special scholarship student for karate. Just as Yuruma tells Kuga that it is not a big deal if he did it by mistake, Kuga hits him again purposely and leaves the class. Mon comments to Yuruma that although he is handsome, he is still slender and too weak compared to Kuga. The girls find the situation absurd, while Azuma, witnessing Yuruma being bullied, wants to help him. Later that day, Azuma notices Yuruma picking up 2 huge cartons from the staff room. Azuma comes and introduces herself to him, but Yuruma seems uninterested. He walks by, and she calls him again to start a conversation and takes 1 carton from Yuruma. Because Azuma wants to help him, she begins talking about Kuga, who bullied Yuruma. She wants to help because she thinks that he will target Yuruma again. However, Yuruma tells her that it is better not to get herself involved in this dangerous situation. As they reach the classroom, they put the packs on the floor, and Azuma wonders if the teacher made poor Yuruma carry these 2 heavy boxes all by himself. Yuruma thanks her while she tells him there's no need to thank her as she was guilty of not helping Yuruma when he was bullied. That's why she helped Yuruma carry the boxes as an atonement for her own sake. As she is about to leave the class, she inquires Yuruma if Kuga is from the same middle school as his, to which Yuruma tells her that their middle schools were different. However, they did attend the same elementary school. Azuma insists on helping him. However, Yuruma tells her rudely that she is even more annoying than Kuga. Azuma is frustrated because she can't understand why Yuruma stays quiet all this time and does not defend himself against Kuga. She is irritated because Yuruma told her that she is causing inconvenience to him, although she just wanted to help. Moan tells other friends not to worry about Azuma as she has always been unnecessarily kind and righteous. Azuma starts nibbling on her food and thinks that maybe Yuruma is just scared that Kuga will find out if he tells the teachers, and he will bully him even more. She remembers what Moan said about Yuruma being hot but skinny, making her feel gross because it's the truth. Azuma says goodbye to her friends and leaves the school. She realizes she missed her bus and the next one is not coming for another 30 minutes, so she decides to walk to the station. As she goes to the bus station, she spots Yuruma passing by but doesn't talk to him, remembering what he said earlier that her intrusion would be a bigger nuisance than Kuga. He had also requested her not to intervene in his life. As she was busy thinking, she realized that Yuruma had disappeared. A few moments later, she gets attacked by a pervert who tries to rape her. She decides to scream her lungs out, but the rapist takes out a knife and threatens to kill her if she makes even a small noise. He rips off Azuma's clothes, and Azuma starts crying because she never wanted her first time to be like this. Just as the rapist is about to destroy Azuma's life, he gets a massive kick to his face. It turns out that Yuruma heard her scream and came to her rescue. The rapist runs to Yuruma with a knife, but Yuruma easily snatches and throws it away. Yuruma slams him on the ground and beats the crap out of the rapist, who goes unconscious. Yuruma then asks Azuma if she is alright, to which she starts crying and tells him that she is scared as hell. Yuruma asks her never to speak about what happened here and leave everything to him. He will take the psycho to the police, and as he is about to leave, he asks Azuma to keep his clothes as this beast ripped her clothes earlier. Azuma is on the bus now, still thinking about Yuruma that how he saved her from that beast. She realizes that all the stuff she has seen in movies pales in comparison to what Yuruma did today. She finds the comment about Yuruma being handsome but slender completely wrong. She thanks God for helping her in such a dangerous situation, and she realizes that she forgot to thank Yuruma. Meanwhile, at the place where Azuma almost got raped, we see Yuruma beside that rapist's body. He shoves the knife into the rapist, and he starts bleeding. The psychotic rapist is no more, and there's blood on Yuruma's palm. He then says that he can do it. He can finally kill the people responsible for his parents' death. One day Gramps asks Yuruma if he remembers the promise he made 4 years ago to forgive his bullies if they have changed. He explains that it's the change, regret, and apology that makes one human. He tries to point out that it has been 4 years since Yuruma's parents died, and they don't know the current nature of those bullies. If those 5 jerks reflect upon their sins and apologize, Yuruma's gotta let go of them as he promised. However, Gramps encourages him to kill them brutally by taking hold of their bowels and ripping off their skin like a beast, and Yuruma says that he hopes that they haven't changed as he will enjoy taking his revenge. Gramps asks who will be the first, and Yuruma whispers the name of his first target. Kyo is introduced as the control tower of the 5 bullies group and the central figure in the killing of Yuruma's parents with the expertise of evil master plans. He is a bright student looking to enter the medical faculty. Kuga is the winner of the National Middle School Judo Championships at 90 kilograms with the expertise of violence. In the past, he often used Yuruma as a practice kit for trying new techniques. At the same time, Ashiro Yuuga is introduced as a womanizer whose current private life is a mystery. His expertise is his personality, as he is handsome and popular with girls. Hiro is the errand boy in this group. He is an extreme religious fanatic who will lick someone's shoes just to earn extra points. In contrast, Katsumi, who loves tormenting other people more than his 3 meals a day, has the expertise of toys. Among all the toys, his favorite is an air gun, which he often used on Yuruma. The next day in school, Yuruma passes by Azuma, who remembers the tormenting scene from yesterday, and decides to thank him. She stops him, wishes him good morning, and thanks him for saving her from the psychotic rapist from yesterday. Just then, her friend Moan shows up there, and she says that it's so hot today, even in the morning. Azuma, noticing that Moan is just here to make the situation awkward, yells at her to shut up and leave. Azuma, along with Yuruma, goes inside the school's building near the stairs, where Azuma gives him a locket in the shape of a cute bird as a protective charm. Yuruma is confused about this gift, so Azuma explains that it is a jibe bird-chan from the Chibe to Animal series. The series has other cute characters, but this one is rare. Yuruma thanks her, but there is something else that Azuma wants to tell Yuruma, but then she immediately ditches the idea and leaves. Yuruma thinks it would be fine even if Azuma is not very wary. He sees Katsumi, the popular dude among girls, but there's no gossip about him. Yuruma recalls his information on Katsumi, like he's 15, sucks at sports but is good at school, and has blood type A. He knows all this because he was friends with Katsumi in his 4th year of elementary school due to a seat change. Yuruma, who was timid and had no friends, was happy that finally someone talked to him. He remembers when Katsumi, fond of playing with air guns, killed a small insect by putting in the air gun and got excited after doing this. He found it fun, so he started hanging out with the bullies and ditched Yuruma for the fun he found in tormenting others. Yuruma is certain that Katsumi killed the cat he gifted his younger brother 4 years ago. Yuruma, on his way home from school, is now thinking about Katsumi and that he has not felt anything suspicious about him, and it has been 2 weeks since the school's entrance ceremony. He has to ensure that all the bullies on whom he must take revenge have not changed. He has to confirm whether Katsumi has had a change of heart and feels weird about it, as he only learned how to kill people and not how to judge whether the next person is kind or a cruel jerk. He is stopped by Katsumi, who is coming toward him with a bright smile. Katsumi inquires if Yuruma still remembers him. Katsumi is acting glad as if nothing happened, and he tells Yuruma that he was wondering if he forgot him after elementary school. Yuruma is all surprised by this call and answers that there's no way he could forget him, and then Katsumi offers Yuruma to hang out with him later. Next Sunday, Yuruma goes to meet Katsumi, and Katsumi says he was wondering whether he would come. Yuruma asks Katsumi why he invited him to hang out with him, to which Katsumi replies that they are in the same school, so it will be cool to be friends again. Yuruma finds it absurd that no doubt there were times when they used to play together in elementary school, but the history they shared can't be wiped off. Now Yuruma is a little suspicious that there can be something that Katsumi might be plotting against him, so he is not going to let his guard down. Katsumi suggests to Yuruma that they should take some photos to commemorate today. Katsumi looks excited in all the photos, while Yuruma is just dumbfounded. After Katsumi grabs Yuruma's hands, rushes to a clothing store, and tries a jacket, he also asks Yuruma to try one. Yuruma is now certain that there is something skeptical going on as Katsumi takes Yuruma to a cafe where couples usually come to eat. Katsumi first sits beside Yuruma, making him feel super uncomfortable, and then says he should sit on the other side of the table. While Katsumi is telling Yuruma that it's been a while since he had so much fun, Yuruma is absent-minded and unable to comprehend what's happening. He finds Katsumi not malicious as before. Just then, Yuruma notices a tear on Katsumi's face, which makes him come out of his thoughts and ask Katsumi what's wrong. Katsumi tells him that he feels like he is the only one having fun here, and it is fine if Yuruma doesn't feel happy around him because of what happened in the past. Yuruma is convinced that Katsumi might have changed during these 4 years. Later, Yuruma overhears Kuga asking Katsumi about hanging out with him the previous week. Katsumi tells him with teary eyes that he regrets what he did in the past. That day after school, Katsumi asks Yuruma to go home with him. On their way, they take a different route, for which Katsumi apologizes if it causes any trouble to Yuruma. Yuruma smiles and says it's not a big deal. Katsumi tells him that he wants to show something to Yuruma. They stop near a hut, and Katsumi sits on the ground. Yuruma asks him if he has been thinking about something for many days. He can't forget the death of his parents, so he finds their friendship strange. Katsumi starts crying while bowing down and asks for forgiveness. He tells Yuruma that he thought of apologizing so many times that he was scared, so he decided to continue spending quality time with him. Just then, Katsumi stands up, seeing a kitten coming his way. He says that he has been waiting for her. To their surprise, a truck approaches Katsumi, who is going toward the kitten. Katsumi immediately jumps and drags the kitten out of the truck's way. Witnessing Katsumi risking his life to save an animal, Yuruma is convinced that his forgiveness for his sins in the past was no lie. Here comes the twist. Aruma turns around to see Azuma, who pushes him forward from behind, and Katsumi hits Yuruma on his head with a stone. As Yuruma gets conscious, he finds himself and Azuma tied up to the chairs inside the hut. With an evil grin, Katsumi tells Yuruma that he regrets not that his group killed his parents but that they left Yuruma alive, so he is here to finish the job. He tells him that Yuruma is his prey, but Kyowu is the group's leader, so he can't fulfill his desires. But from now on, he will never hand over his prey to anyone else. He then chokes the kitten and kills it. Yuruma is still expressionless, even after watching all of this. Yuruma recalls the scene from before where he got hit by Katsumi as Azuma pushed him from behind. He thinks Azuma might be equally involved in deceiving him, but he notices that she is also tied to the chair. Azuma is a crying mess who apologizes to Yuruma. She tells him that Katsumi saw what happened the day she was about to be raped. Katsumi shows Yuruma a video that he made in which Azuma is naked, and the rapist is about to destroy her life. He says that he was passing by just coincidentally. He says that he was amazed at how Yuruma came to rescue Azuma, but he won't be able to make such a brave move again as he is tied up like a damn prisoner. Yuruma and Azuma are not tied up in a normal way. Instead, the air gun jerk used a technique called Toranawa, which he learned from books. If one has been tied up using this technique, one can't get out unless he rips off his fingers. Yuruma is trying to get out of the ropes, but he finds the technique different from what he learned from Gramps. He remembers Gramps told him no one has ever broken out from the Toranawa technique. This evil punk, Katsumi, tells them that he has arranged for this place to blow up if he presses a button that he is holding. Katsumi starts laughing like a maniac because he has finally got the opportunity to beat the shit out of the person he hates the most. He smacks the head of Yuruma forcefully, and Azuma yells at him to stop. But he answers that this is just the beginning. He wants to keep tormenting Yuruma to see his agonized expressions until he dies. Azuma falls with her head on Katsumi's feet, begging him to stop. However, Yuruma tells her there is nothing much to worry about. Katsumi, realizing that Yuruma does not feel that much pain, goes to his drawer to take out a nail gun that uses gas to drive in nails. He draws a nail into the dead kitten's body. Azuma is scared to hell as Katsumi points the gun toward her. He shoots a few nails at the ground near Azuma, but not even one draws into her body. This was just to terrify her. However, her terrified face doesn't bring him any joy. Instead, it would be exciting to see Yuruma's face like this. Katsumi is a sadistic person who gets pleasure from causing pain to others, particularly those he claims to care about. He says that his cat's name is Mida, and he found it in the basement of the abandoned house, fed and doted on it to see what the agony looks like on the face of someone who loves something, and it dies. Azuma yells at him, telling him that he never liked the cat and that's why he killed him. There were no feelings of love. Katsumi points the gun again at Azuma, saying he loves seeing his hopeless victims. Katsumi believes that hurting someone you love is forbidden love. It's like a person discovering something new and exciting, like sex, but even more intense and immoral. Katsumi shoots another nail into the ground near Azuma, making her cry and sniff. Katsumi wonders when Yuruma will start showing his real expressions of pain. He draws a nail into the foot of Yuruma and hopes to see his reaction. But when he notices that Yuruma is not bothered, he draws in 2 more nails, but to his surprise, Yuruma still sits with his poker face. Katsumi, frustrated and annoyed, kept drawing nails into his body, but to his amazement, even the color of Yuruma's face didn't change. Yuruma smiles, telling him that he has gotten used to this pain level thanks to the bullies who made it possible. Even his eyebrow won't twitch at this pain level. Yuruma tells him that Katsumi lacks guts and is scared of using his own hands because they are just limited to killing bugs and cats. He tries to point out that Katsumi is nothing but a coward who gets off on hurting the weak and helpless. He taunts Katsumi, telling him that he's not a real man and that he'll never be able to understand the true meaning of pain and suffering. Yuruma's words seem to hit a nerve with Katsumi, who loses his cool and becomes increasingly erratic in his actions. Katsumi is fired up in his anger as he throws the gun and the switch. He then starts strangling Yuruma to show him the power of his hands. He doesn't have any mercy for someone who called him a coward. He is dead set on killing the person he hates the most just to prove that he is powerful. Azuma is freaking out that Yuruma will end up dying with this level of powerful strangling. Just then, to Azuma's and Katsumi's surprise, Yuruma frees his hand and brings it forward to push Katsumi way back to the wall behind. Yuruma didn't counterattack earlier because the switch in Katsumi's hand could have been pressed at any moment, but now there is nothing to be worried about. Katsumi is shocked and confused because he can't believe he was pushed back to the wall merely by one hand of Yuruma. On top of that, how has he become so powerful to get off the ropes as he had used his special technique? He is in a state of disbelief. Yuruma tells him that he can control all 68 joints in his body. He adds that the way Katsumi strangles him isn't good at all. While explaining his technique, he starts choking Katsumi and says that he will lose consciousness in 8 to 14 seconds and that he will die within 7 to 10 minutes. However, Yuruma stops because he doesn't want to kill Katsumi immediately. Yuruma then looks at Azuma, who is very scared. After a while, Katsumi comes into consciousness and realizes that he has been chained up to the wall. He sees Yuruma's face staring at him. Yuruma congratulates him and tells him he is the first of his targets. Later, when Katsumi regains consciousness, he is all drenching in sweat. The intimidating sight of Yuruma putting a peeler at the table makes him question what will happen to his naked, chained-up body. There is vinyl stretched across one side of the room, which Yuruma explains is a sheet that will cover everything no matter what flies in the room. This will be a great help in cleaning the mess afterward. Katsumi freaks out as Yuruma tells him he is looking for an air gun of the same model that Katsumi once used to bully Yuruma. Yuruma remembers how in his childhood, one day, he was tied to a tree, and the other 4 jerks were cheering Katsumi for tormenting Yuruma with an air gun. Katsumi was shooting from a distance and missing his target every time, so he decided to shoot from close up, which would get him to see Yuruma's agonized expressions from the pain. Katsumi shot the nail right into Yuruma's belly, which satisfied him. But now, Yuruma wants to return the favor and show Katsumi what real pain feels like. He's about to get a taste of his own medicine and see what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that air gun. The terrified and agonized expressions which Katsumi keeps talking about are best reflected on his face as Yuruma points the gun to his eye. Yuruma tells him that the place where he shot him induced immense suffering. He had to gouge the flesh out because pellets got embedded inside. Yuruma now wonders what should be done to him. If he shoots his eyeball, would it rupture? Katsumi loses his senses when he thinks of this scenario and starts begging Yuruma to forgive him. He then begins crying like a baby, pleading with Yuruma not to hurt him. He pretends to realize the gravity of his actions in the past by telling Yuruma that he has no choice other than to obey Kyowu. He adds that he was nothing but Kyowu's puppet. So, he suggests Yuruma take him to the police and he will testify for everything. Yuruma, with a poker face, asks him the reason behind his constant sweating, to which Katsumi lies that the room is hot. Yuruma rectifies him by telling him that it's not the hotness of the room making him sweat, but his nerves are oversensitized. As Yuruma goes to the mirror, Katsumi asks him what he will do with that peeler. Yuruma notices this and tells him it's already been used on him. He then puts a mirror in front of Katsumi, who sees his skin peeled off his chest, belly, and thighs. He yells at the mere sight of his peeled off skin in the mirror. During his training, Yuruma was taught by his gramps a technique called peeling, which they used while they were in Kitayama Corps to cause intolerable pain to their enemies. If someone touches the nerves underneath the peeled off skin, the victim feels like a burner is scorching him. Yuruma, not moved by Katsumi's tears, with a cold expression, is determined to make him pay for his actions. He comes forward with his finger, slightly touching the nerve underneath the peeled skin from his belly, making Katsumi yell in pain and beg for forgiveness. Yuruma, in full control, points the air gun towards Katsumi, who starts losing his mind from this nightmare type of situation. He realizes that touching made it hurt so much. What if Yuruma used something as powerful as an air gun? As Yuruma shoots the nail into Katsumi's belly, a bloodstream comes out of his mouth. Katsumi starts pointing the finger of blame at Kyowu for his actions in the past. He explains that Kyowu was the one who instructed him to capture, name, and ultimately kills a small bug that he had found. He taught him how to inflict pain on those he held dear. As a result, Katsumi began associating with a group of freaks who shared his twisted desires. But now, as Yuruma draws nails into his body, Katsumi starts speaking his true thoughts. He says it's a blessing that his family died. His brother, who's living like a bug, will also die soon. Katsumi didn't regret it anymore. Instead, he showed his pride in hurting someone he loved once. Yuruma remains unsympathetic, remembering the same pain and suffering that Katsumi inflicted upon him. The lifeless body of Katsumi hangs as drops of blood slowly escape through his wounds. Yuruma gets out of the room to where Azuma is still tied up. Seeing Yuruma coming out of the room makes Azuma's eyes fill with the hope that everything is fine now. She inquires about his injuries and Katsumi. Yuruma warns her that she will be killed if she ever tells anyone about what happened here. Azuma gets speechless when she hears this warning. Yuruma makes it back to his Gramps' home. His tired soul cannot bear the burden of his body, so he collapses as soon as he enters. Gramps realizes that Yuruma has finally done it. He consoles him, telling him not to worry about cleaning up and that he'll take care of it. As the school day begins, the students are filled with worry and concern over the whereabouts of their classmate, Katsumi. He had been absent from school since the previous Friday, and no one had heard from him. The teacher takes the opportunity to address the situation, asking anyone who might have information about Katsumi's disappearance to come forward and share it with the school staff. The class is abuzz with speculation and theories about what might have happened to the missing student. Some students fear that he may have come to harm, while others speculate that he may have run away. Yuruma is absent from the class, while Mon and Kugadaichi are curious and trying to piece together what may have happened to Katsumi. At the same time, Azuma is filled with fear and anxiety as she is not allowed to speak about the events that occurred. Then we see Yuruma in the hospital beside his brother's bed. It is going to be warmer soon as spring is approaching and cherry blossoms are falling outside. Yuruma has brought a flower that both he and Kakeru used to suck the nectar off in their childhood. He gets emotional and asks his brother when he will wake up. Yuruma then gives the good news to his brother that one of the killers is already taken care of, and the rest will soon meet the same fate. At the police station, a female officer named Uda Asako is looking for Sergeant Anzai-san. She is informed that he is in the break room. The moment she turns around to go and see Anzai, she is greeted with teasing from a tall man about her partnership with Anzai, potentially delaying her promotion. Frustrated and annoyed by her delayed promotion, she enters the break room, where she sees Anzai drinking lots of coffee. Seeing so many empty cans, Uda inquires if he drank all of them, to which Anzai agrees. She brings up a new missing person case from Maizeki High School named Senkuji Katsumi. The name strikes the sergeant as familiar, so he opens a record book with the photos of those 5 bullies and Yuruma on one page. They figure out that Katsumi is Yuruma's classmate. After the first murder, Yuruma marks off Katsumi's photo and decides that he won't make the same mistake of being negligent with the remaining murderers as he was with Katsumi. He is determined to pay extra attention and eliminate them, starting with his next target, the famous and handsome playboy, Ashiro Yuuga. At a club, several individuals are engaged in sexual activities, as the establishment is being used as a front for a prostitution ring. The owner, Ashiro Yuuga, is seen having fun with women when he receives a message from a client requesting services at 6 p.m. Ashiro asks his girls about their availability. Everyone replies that they are busy with their customers around that time. But one girl steps forward and offers her services, which gives Ashiro some relief. Suddenly, Hana enters the room and draws Ashiro's attention toward her. She informs Ashiro of her intentions to leave and quit the business, as she has saved enough money for her university tuition. Ashiro requests to speak with her further outside the club. Hana and Ashiro meet outside, and Hana inquires why they are meeting in this sketchy spot. In a rage, Ashiro grabs her and forcefully kisses her, but Hana struggles to push him away, telling him that they are in public. Ashiro's anger increases as he bites Hana's tongue and then proceeds to rip it out, shouting at her for thinking that she can leave him and the prostitution ring he is running. He takes a lighter and begins burning her tongue, and he says that a tongue that says such bad things must be punished. As long as he was there to provide her customers for her university fee, she took advantage of him, and now she couldn't just leave like this because she wanted it. He doesn't care whether she goes to university or not, and he is only concerned about his orders being strictly followed. Hana is bawling her eyes out because of the pain and torture. He leaves her after acting extra caring to console her. He tells her that he can't think of himself doing anything if she disappears like this. Hana apologizes too. Ashiro breaks the hug and asks Hana to take the initiative to stop anyone who refuses to work here anymore. He then receives a text from Kyowu, who asks him to meet him under the overhead bridge at 6 p.m. Yuruma has finally gathered the current information regarding Ashiro. He knows that Ashiro runs a prostitution service and is actively involved in drug trafficking. He is a 15-year-old boy who goes to a private school, and his evil deeds with his delinquent friends know no limits. Yuruma is convinced that Ashiro has not changed, and he can kill him with no misgivings whatsoever this time. The only problem he faces is that he has no idea how to corner Ashiro. Just then, someone rings at the door, and Yuruma goes to see Sergeant Anzai and Officer Uda outside, who are here for Katsumi's disappearance case. Yuruma, in a state of shock, is speechless as he knows them from 4 years ago when his parents were killed, and their murder was made to look like an accident. The sergeant has noticed a strange change in the environment of Yuruma compared to the tiny and weak boy he knew 4 years ago. Yuruma wonders if they are here again with many questions regarding a case that was closed 4 years ago, which the sergeant denies and gets straight to the point. He asks Shun if he knows what happened to Katsumi. Uda thinks that Anzai's approach is too direct. Yuruma is slightly surprised by this question but pretends to be normal, as if he doesn't know anything. The sergeant tells him that Katsumi went missing a week ago, and the information says that he used to talk to Yuruma. Yuruma, with a cold expression on his face, clarifies that they are class fellows and it's inevitable for them to talk. No big deal. There is no point in investigating him. Anzai finds Yuruma's friendship with his bully strange and inquires about it. With an obvious yet annoyed tone, Yuruma tells him that he made it very clear 4 years ago and is still going to do that again, that he was never bullied. Uda tries holding Anzai back, telling him to ease up on the tough questions. Yuruma is getting increasingly annoyed, telling Anzai he already said all these 4 years ago, and he isn't going to repeat himself. But Anzai is still unsatisfied and keeps pushing, trying to dig up some dirt on Yuruma. He starts asking Yuruma all these questions about how he would have reacted if his parents didn't die in an accident, and instead were murdered, and if his brother had been put in a vegetative state, to which Yuruma simply says he would kill them. The cops are worried as Yuruma's words are full of vengeful tone, as if he meant what he said. Gramps arrives on the scene and asks the officers to leave, explaining that Yuruma has moved on from that incident and is not involved in this case. Despite this, the officers seem a bit skeptical of their story as they depart. Gramps and Yuruma know that the sergeant remains suspicious of them, despite the lack of evidence linking them to the crime. The bullies group gathers at the overhead bridge where Kyowu is plucking the feathers of a crow and then chokes it to death. He informs the group about Katsumi's disappearance. Ashiro is in disbelief after hearing this news. They find it strange that one of their members has disappeared without any report. Ashiro asks Kuga if he called him, and Kuga replies that he did call, but it goes straight to voicemail. Kyowu presents several hypotheses as to why Katsumi has gone missing. The first was that he had intended to reach out but was unable to for some reason. The second possibility is that he was unable to contact anyone for help. And the third and most grim possibility is that he has already passed away. Kuga Daichai brings up the point that lately, Katsumi had been mentioning something about Yuruma from 4 years ago, and he was spending more time with him. Hiro speculates that perhaps Katsumi didn't bully Yuruma enough, and now Yuruma is holding him captive. Kyowu, however, disagrees and firmly asserts that Katsumi is already dead. Kyowu orders everyone to disperse and go their separate ways, as he gets easily bored with people and likes to keep to himself. He has a very strong sense of self-importance. Azuma starts working at a new job, and the men there are very interested in her. But she has no clue that the job she started is actually prostitution. Yuruma stands outside Taisei Academy, a prestigious private school attended by Ashiro. He has come to gather more information about his next target. Yuruma is aware that the police are on high alert and might be keeping an eye on him, so he must remain very careful. Ashiro, who was once a lonely kid living with his single mother after joining Kyo's gang, became an evil boy to the point where he was given the title of a playboy. He now runs a prostitution ring. Despite Ashiro's evil nature, Yuruma can't help but notice that everyone he talks to still speaks highly of Ashiro's character and kind heart. Yuruma continues to dig deeper into Ashiro's current lifestyle, talking to more people and gathering information. He learns that Ashiro used to be a popular, charismatic kid. But since his girlfriend, Karen, went missing a few months after school, he has been acting distant and not coming to school as much. The next day of her disappearance, a report was filed, but she was nowhere to be found. There was speculation of suicide or supernatural events, but there were still no leads, making Ashiro lose all his charisma. According to the girl he's talking to, Karen and Ashiro had been dating since they were in middle school, and she was the reason he chose to attend Taisei Academy. Yuruma finds the situation a bit funny. He can't help but be suspicious that Ashiro would return to running a prostitution ring soon after his girlfriend, Karen, went missing. Ashiro's behavior seems contradictory, and Yuruma suspects there may be more to the story than meets the eye. He knows that uncovering the truth about Karen's disappearance might be the key to understanding everything about Ashiro and his criminal activities. In the next scene, Azuma feels uneasy and out of place as she sits on the couch of the dimly lit room. Strange and unsavory looking men surround her. She doesn't know yet that this is a prostitution ring. Instead, she worries about her friend Mickey, who brought her here under the guise of a part-time job. But now she is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, an older, overweight man approaches her, making inappropriate and unwelcome advances to Azuma. He is disrespectful and too intimate with Azuma, making her very uncomfortable. Just then, Mickey reappears and shouts at the man. She orders him to leave, and Azuma takes a sigh of relief. Mickey tells Azuma this jerk is a piece of trash and is always thinking about having sex with girls. Azuma is all confused and asks her why a bad guy like him is allowed to enter this place, to which Mickey clarifies that this is a prostitution ring. Azuma is shocked and horrified that she has been caught up in such a dangerous and illegal situation. She can't believe Mickey would bring her to such a place and is even more worried about her friend's involvement in this criminal activity. Mickey explains the ins and outs of the prostitution ring to Azuma, telling her that the more customers she can bring in, the more money Ashiro will make. She assures Azuma that she doesn't have to do anything in particular. Just sitting there as a customer is enough. All the girls in this prostitution ring compete to win Ashiro's heart, and she's no different. She warns Azuma not to get any ideas about going after Ashiro herself. Mickey then hands her a dress and tells her to change. Azuma goes to the washroom and changes her dress. She looks at herself in the mirror and gets happy to see that she looks wonderful in this new dress. But soon, reality kicks in, and she remembers that she must find a way to get out of there quickly. She is trapped in a situation where her friend wants to take advantage of her just because she is in love with a guy. As Azuma tries to escape the clutches of the sinister prostitution ring, she is ambushed in the washroom by a menacing harasser who is determined to use his strength to overpower her and take what he desires by force. The attacker becomes increasingly aggressive, leaving Azuma with no choice but to fight to escape the clutches of her attacker. Azuma's mind races as she tries to devise a plan to escape, so she pushes him away with her elbow. But the struggle she makes is ineffective and accomplishes nothing. Instead, it makes the harasser lock the door, and now the room is empty except for just the two of them. The sex addict maniac thinks that Azuma is a prostitute who is here for sex, and other guys will certainly do what he is about to, so it makes no difference at all. She is trapped and powerless against his advances, her screams for help falling on deaf ears as she desperately fights for her survival. However, this makes the rapist slap her butt and tell her to stay quiet as the loud music won't let anyone hear her screams anyways, so they can quickly get this off. Helpless, Azuma remembers a similar situation she was caught in a few days back. The only difference is that Yuruma was there to rescue her. She starts calling Yuruma for her help in a state of hopelessness. Just as she screams for help, the rapist receives a strong kick in his head, and Azuma, with her eyes wide open, sees a handsome man with a cigarette in his mouth. It's no other than Ashiro Yuuga, the owner of this prostitution ring. Ashiro grabs him by his hair and tells him that his bad behavior is intolerable. He reminds him never to touch the merchandise without paying for it. He adds that there is no discount even for staff. The harasser, bleeding through his nose, starts apologizing and then leaves. Ashiro gives a playful smirk to Azuma and recognizes her as Mickey's friend. He tells her to go home after complimenting her that the dress she is wearing suits her. Azuma is a bit convinced that Ashiro is a person good at heart. Azuma emerges from the washroom, and Mickey inquires about her whereabouts. Azuma tells her that she was in the bathroom. Mickey also asks Azuma if she knows where Ashiro went, but Azuma denies any knowledge. One of Ashiro's friends reveals that he has gone out, and no one knows where he goes once he leaves his prostitution office. It's dark and pin-drop silence all around where we see Ashiro entering this building with 2 packs of food. He unlocks the door, revealing a naked girl with her head down, chained up and surrounded by empty food cans that Ashiro brought her. He asks her if she has been eating properly. Hearing this, the girl yells in excitement and aims to hug Ashiro, but she falls to his feet as she is tied up. She starts cursing him and tells him that she wants to kill him. Ashiro tries to calm the girl as he has brought her food for her, and he even pays the rent of this building. It's then revealed that this girl was his girlfriend, whom everyone believed to be missing, and the reason for Ashiro's absence from school. He tells her she is unique and special, unlike any other girl. Karen starts crying hearing this, but Ashiro does not care about her tears. He starts violently kissing her and thrusting inside without regard for her feelings or consent. He sees her as nothing more than an object for his pleasure, a tool to satisfy his desires. To him, women are nothing but holes to be used for pleasure and have no other purpose. He further says that Karen is the best opening, as he gets to quench his thirst by having sex only with her. He won't hand her over to anyone. He is ruthless in his actions, showing no empathy or compassion. And that's how the second part of this Manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a third part, comment below with the word revenges. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important,